I checked our baby monitor from work, and saw my wife kissing her best friend in our living room. It was a Tuesday. The kind of ordinary day where nothing should go wrong: blue sky, lukewarm coffee, predictable meetings. I was sitting in my office, half listening to my manager ramble about budget allocations when I glanced at the screen of my phone. Habit. Our baby monitor app was pinned to my home screen. I checked it dozens of times a day. Not because I didn't trust the nanny, but because my daughter, Emma, was 9 months old and every twitch of her tiny body still filled me with awe. Her naps were my resets. So I tapped the app quietly under the conference table, expecting the usual: dim light, white noise, her rising and falling chest. But the camera wasn't pointed at her crib. It took a second to realize what I was seeing. The angle was low, from the living room shelf, not the nursery, and framed the edge of our couch. Our beige couch. Emma's toys were scattered on the floor. And my wife, Lauren, was sitting with someone. Someone who wasn't me. I paused. Blinked. Tilted the phone as if that would change the image. The man beside her was close. Too close. Knees touching. His hand was on her leg. She didn't move it away. I stopped breathing. They were talking. I couldn't hear anything. The camera had no mic, but it didn't matter. Her face. Her smile. The one she used to give me when we were still new. I saw it again. Only it wasn't mine anymore. Then, like some twisted film scene, she leaned in. He met her halfway. Their lips met, briefly but clearly, and I watched my marriage shift from something I thought was real to something I no longer understood. I felt the world narrow to the size of that phone screen. The meeting continued around me. People laughed. Someone scribbled notes on a whiteboard. But I was somewhere else entirely. I locked the phone. Opened it. Rewound the feed. Watched again. Same kiss. Same hand on her thigh. Same betrayal. I should have burst out of that room. Should have demanded answers. Called her. Screamed. But I didn't. I sat there. Frozen. Like if I didn't move, none of it would be true. When the meeting finally ended, I stood up too fast. The room spun. I muttered something about a dentist appointment and left. In the car, I reopened the app. The camera had switched angles, back to the nursery. Emma was sleeping peacefully, one tiny hand wrapped around the ear of her stuffed fox. My heart broke a little more. I didn't drive home. Not yet. I didn't know what I needed. So I parked at the grocery store lot 2 blocks away and sat there with the engine running. Watching the feed. Waiting to see if he'd show again. If she'd kiss him again. If this was a one-time thing or something worse. The man. Her best friend. His name was Caleb. I knew that. He and Lauren had grown up together, childhood neighbors turned adult confidants. She called him her rock. Said he helped her through postpartum. And I'd believed her. Until today. I watched the monitor until the sun began to set. Until the screen dimmed. Until guilt crept in for not going home to my daughter. When I finally did pull into the driveway, the porch light was on. Lauren's car was there. So was Caleb's. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my briefcase. Inside, the TV murmured low in the background. Emma was in her high chair, smearing mashed peas across the tray, giggling. Lauren was washing dishes. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't shattered something sacred just hours ago. Caleb wasn't in sight. "Hey, babe," she called over her shoulder, glancing at me. "You're home early. Everything okay?" I didn't answer right away. My mouth felt full of cotton. She dried her hands and walked over, kissing my cheek like she hadn't just kissed someone else. Her lips were warm. Familiar. You look pale, she said softly. Long day. I nodded. She turned back to the sink. Caleb just left. Stopped by to drop off that box of Emma's old clothes his sister lent us. He didn't want to stay, said he was late for something. A perfect lie. Too perfect. Emma threw a pee at the dog, and I forced a smile. I'm gonna take a shower, I murmured. Clear my head. Lauren nodded, already back to rinsing plates. Just another evening. But nothing was normal anymore. Not the walls. Not the air. Not the woman I shared a home with. Upstairs, I locked the bathroom door, sat on the closed toilet, and pulled out my phone. I hit play again. Watched the kiss. This time, I didn't flinch. I whispered to myself, that was the last time I didn't see it. Then I opened a new note on my phone and typed 4 words. Watch. Record. Don't confront. I was going to find out everything. She texted me that night like nothing had changed. A photo of Emma in her pajamas, holding up a rubber duck with both hands like it was a trophy. Captioned, our little champion made it through bath time without screaming first place medal yellow heart. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. You two are the dream team. It hurt to type that. To play my part. But I had to see where this was going. And I wasn't going to get the truth by storming the castle. Not yet. When I came downstairs, she was curled on the couch, a blanket over her legs, a mug of tea in her hands. Candlelight flickered from the table, vanilla bean. Her favorite. Mine too, once. Want to watch something? She asked, patting the cushion beside her. I sat down, a little too far away, and she didn't seem to notice. We watched some true crime docu-series she'd been following. I didn't hear a word. Just watched her. The way her lips curved around the rim of the mug. The way she absently rubbed her ankle with her other foot. Every detail had become suspect. Every glance, every breath. Was she thinking about him? Was she remembering the kiss? Did she feel guilty? When the episode ended, she turned to me and smiled. Thanks for being patient with me lately, she whispered. I know I've been all over the place. I nodded, my throat dry. You've had a lot on your plate. She leaned her head against my shoulder. I don't know what I'd do without you. I didn't answer. I couldn't. That night, I waited until she was asleep before I went back downstairs. I found the baby monitor and checked its settings. The app kept a motion-activated recording history. Every clip was time-stamped. Every angle, archived. I transferred the footage to an external drive. Locked it in my desk drawer. Insurance. Proof. Whatever this became, I wouldn't go in blind. The next morning, I left early. Told Lauren I had back-to-back meetings. Instead, I parked down the street. I needed to know if Caleb would come back. At 9:12 a.m. her car pulled out. I followed from a distance. Through 2 stop signs, a roundabout, past the park where we used to take Emma when she was still small enough to fit in the crook of one arm. She didn't drive toward Caleb's neighborhood. She pulled into a pharmacy parking lot. And then something strange happened. She sat there. For 10, 15, 20 minutes. Just sat. Motionless. Then she leaned forward. Both hands on the steering wheel. Her shoulders were shaking. I think she was crying. And for one terrible moment, I wondered, could I have been wrong? Was it just a kiss? A mistake she regretted? But then my phone buzzed. A new motion alert. Back at the house. Living room. 9:39 a.m. I opened the app. My heart stopped. Caleb. Letting himself in through the side door. The door with the broken latch I hadn't fixed yet. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. So she was out. He was in. And I was parked outside a pharmacy, watching nothing, while the truth walked right into my house. He made himself a coffee. Sat on the couch. Like it was his home too. Like he belonged there. I took a breath so deep it hurt. This wasn't a mistake. This was routine. I didn't go home that night. I told Lauren I was stuck late at the office, some emergency with a client file, lots of revisions, wouldn't be back until late. She responded with a thumbs up emoji and a heart. That was it. No questions. No concern. Just quiet consent. I watched Caleb leave our house at 2:14 p.m. He washed his mug in our sink before he went. I watched him dry it with our dish towel. The one Lauren embroidered with little lemons. Then he glanced around, adjusted a pillow on the couch, and let himself out through the side door like he owned the place. Like he'd done it before. The worst part wasn't what he did. It was how natural it all looked. I drove to a hotel 40 minutes away. A small roadside place with faded signage and a blinking vacancy light. Paid cash for one night and used a fake name. The guy behind the desk didn't care. Inside, I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to breathe. I kept seeing his hands on my daughter's toys. On the couch where Lauren and I once slept through movies. The kitchen where I made her pancakes every Sunday morning when she was pregnant with Emma. It was all being slowly rewritten by someone else's fingerprints. That night I made a list. A real one. Pen on paper. Left column, every day Caleb had come over in the past month, based on camera footage and Lauren's calendar. Right column, every lie she told to explain her absence or stress or mood swings. It matched too well. Tuesdays and Thursdays were his days. Every single one. I wanted to call someone. My brother, maybe. Or Dan from work. But how do you say that? How do you admit your wife is betraying you under your roof, and you're too afraid to say a word? So I just sat with it. Let it fester in my chest like a sickness. At 3 a.m., I found myself scrolling back through older clips on the app. Late night recordings. Ones I hadn't watched before. And I found something. 3 weeks ago. 11:38 p.m. living room. Candlelight. No baby cries, no reason for the camera to be activated. But it was. I pressed play. There they were. Caleb on the couch. Lauren leaning over him. No kiss this time. Just her whispering something. His hand on her hip. She laughed. The sound so soft the camera's motion sensor almost missed it. She was in my hoodie. The gray one with the torn sleeve I wore on winter nights. She always said it smelled like me. She used to sleep in it when I was away on business trips. Now she wore it for him. I pressed pause. Just stared at the still image. My wife. My sweater. His smirk. I should have thrown my phone through the wall. But instead, I copied that clip too. Added it to the drive. Labeled it, 11-38 living room, gray hoodie. I wasn't just collecting evidence anymore. I was building a timeline. And with each new piece, the man I thought I was, the husband, the father, the provider, faded a little more. He was being replaced by someone else. Someone who watched from the shadows. Someone who listened more than he spoke. Someone who didn't blink when the world cracked wide open. At dawn, I drove back to our street. Sat in the car and watched the lights come on in the kitchen. Lauren moved through the morning like always. Coffee. Bottles. Toast. Emma's giggle reached my ears even from inside the car. I wanted to hold her. To lift her in my arms and pretend none of this was happening. But I didn't move. Not yet. My phone buzzed. A text. Lauren, did you get any sleep? Emma's asking for Dada Yellowheart. That word cut through me. Dada. I texted back, heading home soon. Bring her outside. 30 seconds later, the door opened. Lauren stepped onto the porch with Emma in her arms. She was barefoot, smiling, dressed in my hoodie. The same one. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. She waved me in with the same hand she used to wear her wedding ring on. It wasn't there. She's been saying, Dada, all morning, Lauren said, beaming as she held Emma against her shoulder. I think she missed you. Emma reached for me with both arms, innocent, joyful, pure. I forced my mouth into a smile and took her, letting her soft curls brush my cheek. Her tiny fingers clutched my collar. Her breath smelled like milk and apples. For a moment, the world shrank back to something bearable. She cried when I tried to put her in her high chair without you, Lauren added, laughing. Stubborn like her dad. I looked up at her, the morning sun behind her head like a halo. How could someone look so honest while living a lie? I needed that, I said softly, brushing Emma's back. Thanks. Lauren leaned in to kiss my cheek, and I let her. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. She pulled away too quickly, like something in my stillness unsettled her. You're sure you're okay? She asked, frowning now. You've been distant. There it was. The opening. I could have said it. Right there. I saw you. I know. I watched you kiss him. But I didn't. Instead, I let silence answer. Work's been hell, I muttered. Just tired. She nodded, but her eyes lingered on mine a moment longer than normal. Searching. Reading. Calculating. She knew something had shifted. And maybe that's what scared her most, not being sure how much I knew. The rest of the morning passed like a ghost wearing our routines. I changed Emma's diaper, fed her oatmeal, wiped her hands while she babbled nonsense. Lauren made eggs. Folded laundry. Played music from her phone. Like nothing had happened. Like our life was still whole. At noon, she slipped on her jacket. I have to run by the studio, she said. That campaign's due Friday, and I still need to edit the final drafts. I nodded without looking up. Be safe. She hesitated in the doorway, keys in hand. You sure you're all right? I turned and smiled. Of course. The door closed behind her. I waited. 15 minutes later, the baby monitor pinged. Living room. Motion detected. I opened the app, already knowing. Caleb. His hair was damp. Freshly showered. He wore a different hoodie today. Dark blue. He dropped a backpack by the couch and walked into the kitchen like he knew exactly where everything was. Because he did. He opened the fridge. Pulled out leftover chicken. Ate standing up. I watched him from Emma's room, holding her against my chest as she napped. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just numb. Like I'd slipped beneath the surface of cold water and forgotten how to breathe. I hit record. At 12:47 p.m. he sat on the couch and pulled out a laptop. My laptop. He entered the password like it was his. I almost dropped Emma. I laid her in the crib gently, kissed her forehead, then walked to the hallway. Camera still rolling. I stepped silently to the vent outside the living room. Knelt. Listened. He was on a call. Zoom, maybe. Something about design layouts. He wasn't just her lover. He was working out of my home. Using my login. My software. God knows what else. That night, Lauren came home with takeout. Thai. Thought we could use a break from cooking, she said, setting the bags down. You love the yellow curry. I did. Or used to. I looked at the containers. 2 sets of everything. Did Caleb stop by today? I asked suddenly. Her hand froze mid-motion. Just for a beat. Yeah, she said casually. He needed to borrow the stepladder again. Said he was fixing his mom's gutter. I nodded. Did he borrow your key too? Her smile didn't falter, but her eyes sharpened. No, she said slowly. I let him in before I left. Why? I shrugged. Just saw the side door was unlatched. Made me wonder. She kept smiling. I'll double-check it. I didn't reply. Just opened the curry container and started eating in silence. She watched me. Waiting for a crack. A twitch. Anything. But I gave her nothing. And somewhere deep behind her perfect smile, I saw it. The first flicker of fear. The fear was subtle. A quick glance too long. A question asked twice. The way her hand hovered over her phone before unlocking it, like she was hoping I wouldn't notice. I noticed everything now. I became a mirror. Reflecting calm. But inside, I was unraveling quietly, strand by strand. 3 nights later, she kissed me. It wasn't passionate. Just a quiet goodnight, the way you'd kiss someone when you think you're supposed to. But the moment her lips touched mine, I knew, it had changed for her too. There was hesitation in it. Distance. Like she was performing a memory instead of living a moment. After she fell asleep, I slipped out of bed and stood in the hallway, staring at our family photos. One from the beach. Emma on my shoulders, sand in her hair. Lauren kissing my cheek, eyes squinted from the sun. The frame read, "Our Forever." I reached for it. And stopped myself. Let it hang crooked on the wall. The next day, I checked our joint Google Calendar. Thursday, client meeting at 2 p.m., studio downtown. I drove there. Not to the studio. But to the parking garage across the street. I had a clear view of the entrance. At 1:54 p.m., Lauren arrived. Alone. On time. She walked inside with her laptop and a leather folio. I watched for 20 minutes. Then 30. No Caleb. At 2:41 p.m., a message appeared on my phone. Motion detected. Living room camera. 2:39 p.m. I opened the app. There he was. Caleb. Again. He wore gym shorts. No shirt. Towel draped over one shoulder. He'd used our shower. The nerve of it sent something deep and dark cracking in my chest. He walked straight to the fridge. Opened a beer. Drank it like he'd earned it. Then he picked up Emma's pink bunny from the floor, the one she couldn't sleep without, and sat on the couch with it in his lap, texting. I zoomed in. The contact name on his screen said, "L, my wife." He typed, "All clean. Wish you were here." I didn't watch for her reply. I closed the app and gripped the steering wheel until my fingers ached. They were playing me. Carefully. Boldly. Rehearsed. They weren't hiding anymore, not really. They were waiting for me to break. For me to say something. For me to give them an excuse. But I wouldn't. Not yet. At 4:07 p.m., Lauren emerged from the studio. Smiling. Relaxed. She even stopped to chat with someone from another firm on the sidewalk. When she got home, she kissed Emma, asked about my day, and reheated leftovers. We watched TV. She laughed at the dumb sitcom we used to hate. I asked about her meeting. Fine, she said. We nailed the concept. Client was thrilled. I smiled. I'm glad. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Thank you for still caring. I looked at her. Of course I care. She didn't see the double meaning. That night, I waited until she showered. Then I took her phone from the charger beside the bed. I'd never gone through it before. Ever. I believed in trust. But this wasn't about belief anymore. It was about truth. The messages with Caleb were buried under a fake name, Lily G. Clever. Innocent. Harmless. But she wasn't Lily. And none of the texts were harmless. Miss your arms. You taste like Friday night. He didn't suspect a thing. And then one that gutted me entirely. Sometimes I wonder if Emma knows. Kids just feel things. I put the phone down and sat on the edge of the bed, numb. The shower turned off. I didn't move. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I just thought, she brought him into her mouth with the same lips she kissed our daughter with. And I wasn't done watching. The next morning, she handed me coffee like it was any other day. "You're up early," she said. "I didn't even hear you get out of bed." I smiled. Took the mug. And lied. Just couldn't sleep. She leaned in and kissed my cheek, still damp from the shower. "Big day today," she said, pulling on her jacket. "Emma's daycare tour is at 10. You still good to come?" I nodded. Wouldn't miss it. She smiled and headed to her car. I watched from the window as she pulled out, wondering what lies she'd text once she was out of view. I didn't check. I didn't need to anymore. Instead, I watched Emma chew on her spoon and smack the tray of her high chair with sticky palms. She looked up at me like I was the entire world. God, what had we brought her into? By 10, we were standing in the lobby of the daycare center, bright walls, soft lighting, tiny furniture. Lauren chatted with the director, pointing at murals and asking about sensory bins like everything was fine. I watched her from the corner of the room. She looked beautiful. Focused. Responsible. The kind of woman people would trust with anything, even your child. Especially your child. But I knew what was under it now. The rot beneath the gloss. The 1,000 lies she kept hidden behind that smooth voice and warm laugh. When the tour ended, we stepped outside. Emma asleep in her stroller, hat tilted sideways. "So?" Lauren asked. "What did you think?" I squinted at the sun. "Seems safe. Clean. They said they had one opening left," she added. "Should we lock it in? You really want her in full time?" She blinked. "Well, yeah. I thought we agreed it's time I focus more on the studio." "Of course. Just, fast, that's all." She hesitated. "You think I'm being selfish?" "No," I said. "Too quickly." She studied me. "Then what is it?" I looked at Emma. Still sleeping. "I just don't want her spending more time with strangers than with her parents." Lauren sighed. "She'll be fine. You're being sentimental." I let the silence stretch. When we got home, I changed Emma and rocked her for a while. Her breath slowed. Her body went limp in my arms. Lauren worked in the other room. I opened the drawer beside my desk and took out the external drive. Over 40 video files now. Each named by time and date. I organized them by day of the week. Patterns emerged. Mondays, she texted Caleb from the bathroom while brushing her teeth. Wednesdays, he came over at noon. Left through the side door at 2. Fridays, deleted call logs. Always cleared. I wasn't just building a timeline anymore. I was building a case. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. Divorce? Confrontation? Blackmail? But it gave me control. And after weeks of drowning, that was something. That night, I played one of the older clips. It was short. Under 30 seconds. Lauren and Caleb. Kissing in the kitchen. Emma crying in the background. She didn't go to her. He didn't even flinch. They finished their kiss. Then she walked out of frame. Finally headed to Emma's room. I watched the timestamp. 10 full seconds between the end of the kiss and her picking up our daughter. I stared at the screen until it blurred. That was my line. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was neglect. It was choosing pleasure over parenting. And I knew then, whatever came next, it couldn't be quiet. It couldn't be a slow fade. They had crossed a line. And I wasn't going to protect them from the consequences anymore. I waited until Sunday. Lauren was out, brunch with an old college friend she hadn't mentioned before. Emma was down for her afternoon nap. The house was quiet, warm, deceiving. I set my laptop on the dining table, opened a fresh document, and started writing. Not a letter. Not a confrontation. A script. What I would say. What she would hear. A playbook, precise down to every breath. Because when the time came, I couldn't afford to shake. It had to be clean. Controlled. Final. I included dates. Screenshots. Passwords. Quotes from her own texts. A timeline so tight it strangled. Every lie was documented. Every hour accounted for. I gave myself rules. No yelling. No name-calling. No breaking things. Stay focused on Emma. Because this wasn't revenge. It was extraction. I wasn't losing my child to their mess. I printed everything and slid it into a plain manila envelope. Wrote her name on it in small block letters. Then I placed it on her pillow. And I waited. At 5:12 p.m. I heard the garage door. Emma had just woken up. I held her as Lauren walked through the door, shopping bags in one hand, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. "Hey, love," she called out, setting the bags on the counter. I got Emma a little sun hat. "Wait till you see." She froze. Her eyes landed on the envelope before I even said a word. She blinked once. Twice. "What's that?" "It's yours," I said. "Everything you've been trying to hide." She didn't move. "Maybe read it before you speak." Emma cooed in my arms. The silence stretched like wire. Lauren walked to the bed slowly. Picked up the envelope like it might bite her. She pulled out the papers, flipped the first page. And I watched her face. She didn't cry. Not at first. Her eyes moved fast, scanning, jumping, calculating. Every breath shorter than the last. "You've been watching us." I nodded. "Since the baby monitor." She closed her eyes. "You saw the couch." "I saw everything." Silence. Then, I didn't mean for it to go that far. I laughed, not loudly. Just a single, sharp exhale. "You kissed him in front of our child." "I know." "You let him in while I held her hand at the pediatrician." She winced. "It wasn't supposed to be like that." "Then what was it supposed to be, Lauren? A side project? A harmless thrill?" She finally looked up. "I was drowning. He made me feel seen. You had me. You were distant. Because I was working. For us. For Emma. And I was alone." The word rang in the room like a gunshot. Emma stirred. I kissed her forehead. Whispered, "Shoo, it's okay." Lauren's lip trembled. "Do you hate me?" "No." She blinked, startled. "I pity you." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I shifted Emma in my arms. "I'm not yelling. I'm not slamming doors. I'm giving you one chance to decide what kind of mother you want to be from this point on. She swallowed. I can't lose her. Then don't make me fight for her. I walked out of the room. Took Emma to the porch. The air smelled like grass and early fall. Inside, I heard the quiet creak of our bedroom door closing. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. The script was already written. She didn't come out of the bedroom for over an hour. I sat on the porch swing with Emma asleep on my chest, the late sunlight filtering through the trees, painting gold lines across the wooden floorboards. The envelope lay open on the bed inside. Every secret exposed. Every lie finally answered. When Lauren finally stepped out, her face was pale. No makeup. Eyes swollen. She walked barefoot across the porch and sat beside me, not too close. She reached out to touch Emma's foot and hesitated. Pulled her hand back. What happens now? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't answer right away. The breeze lifted the edge of her dress, and I watched her twist her fingers together in her lap. You move out, I said quietly. I'll stay here with Emma. She blinked hard. You're kicking me out. I'm asking you to give her space. Stability. Not mornings full of tension and half-truths. You think I'd hurt her? No. But I think you already have. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I'll talk to Caleb, she said suddenly. End it. Completely. I looked at her. It's already ended. The moment you chose yourself over us. She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. I don't even know who I am anymore, she whispered. Then go find out. But not here. Not around her. Emma stirred, letting out a tiny sigh. We both went still. I adjusted her blanket. Kissed her temple. Lauren covered her mouth with her hand. I wasn't sure if she was holding in a sob or a scream. I'll stay with my sister for now, she finally said. Just, don't tell people yet. Please. I need time. I nodded. Not because she deserved grace, but because Emma deserved peace. She stood up slowly, legs shaky. Walked inside. An hour later, her suitcase wheels clicked across the driveway. She didn't hug Emma goodbye. Didn't kiss her forehead. Just stood at the edge of the porch, watching us in silence. I didn't wave. The car pulled away. The taillights disappeared. And just like that, the war ended. Quietly. But peace would take time. That night, I bathed Emma alone. Read her 3 stories. Rocked her in the chair until her breath deepened. Then I sat by her crib with the monitor in hand. No longer a spyglass. Just a watchtower. A promise. That whatever came next, I'd see it. I'd protect her. I'd never look away again. 2 weeks passed. She texted every few days. Short, careful messages. Updates on her job, requests to video chat with Emma, polite questions about the house, as if we were distant cousins navigating some shared estate. I answered, when I had to. I never sent photos. I never offered softness. Emma adjusted faster than I expected. Slept through the night. Ate without fuss. Laughed at shadows on the wall. Children are born with forgiveness in their bones. Adults have to relearn it. One morning, I found a letter tucked into the mailbox. No envelope. Just folded paper, her handwriting. It wasn't an apology. Not really. It was a confession, the kind that's meant more for the writer than the reader. She wrote about the guilt. The panic. The mornings she'd wake up hoping I already knew so she wouldn't have to lie again. She said she'd wake up and look at Emma's crib, then wonder how she became a woman who could risk losing something so perfect. She said she didn't expect forgiveness. I didn't offer it. But I didn't throw the letter away either. That night, after Emma fell asleep, I sat in the kitchen with a beer and looked around the quiet house. It felt bigger now. Emptier, yes. But also cleaner. Honest. I could breathe again. There's a myth that betrayal ends with the door slamming. The suitcase. The rage. But sometimes it ends in silence. In a high chair that doesn't rock. In a closet that holds only one winter coat. In peace. One night, I took down the living room camera. Not because I was done being vigilant, but because I was done being afraid. Emma deserved a father who looked her in the eye, not over her shoulder. And I deserved a home that didn't hide anything. Lauren still asks to visit. Sometimes I say yes. Sometimes I say Emma's napping. There's no pattern to it. Just instinct. I don't know what forgiveness will look like, or when it might arrive, if it ever does. But I know this, I see my daughter every day. I hear her laugh. I feel her arms around my neck. And that is more than enough. For now, that is everything. 3 months later, I saw Caleb again. He was standing in line at the grocery store, 2 aisles over from the one I was in with Emma, his back turned, chatting with the cashier like he belonged in the world. I felt the air shift in my lungs. He hadn't changed. Still the same smug tilt of the shoulders. Still the same black hoodie I'd seen him wear on my camera, feet on my coffee table. He didn't see me. Emma did. She reached for a box of cereal, giggling at the cartoon lion. And I remembered, that was the box Caleb had once picked up and shaken in our kitchen, joking that it smelled like baby powder and regret. I nearly dropped it. But I didn't. I lifted Emma into the cart and wheeled us past the registers. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. He had already taken too much from us. He didn't get to take the space in my mind too. That night, Lauren called. I heard he's back in town, she said, carefully. I thought you should know. I stayed silent. I haven't seen him, she added quickly. I don't plan to. That's your choice, I said. But if I ever catch him near Emma. She cut in. He won't be. I promise. I believed her. Not because I trusted her again. But because I knew now what I would do if she ever broke that boundary. We ended the call civilly. Politely. Like people who used to mean everything to each other. And maybe that was all we'd ever be now, 2 people orbiting the same small sun, learning how not to burn each other. The next morning, I made pancakes for Emma. Cut them into stars. She smeared syrup across her chin and laughed with her whole body. And I realized something. The story was never about Caleb. Not really. It was about how far a man can be pushed before he chooses silence over rage, patience over vengeance, peace over ruin. It was about watching your world come undone in slow motion, and finding, somehow, that you're still standing. Still holding your child. Still breathing. And that, maybe, is the only revenge that matters. To live better. To stay kind. To never, ever look away again.